Hello everyone. Welcome to my Leagues for Trailblazers Reloaded guide. And we have a lot to talk about today. This is going to be just a nice general overview of a lot of the things you can be expecting. This is helpful for people who have absolutely no idea anything about Leagues, but also useful if you know quite a bit and you're looking for some more strategy-oriented tips. So we're going to jump right into this, but before we do, please keep in mind that some of this information, most of the information I'm talking about has been confirmed by Jagex or is just strategy, me thinking outside the box, but there may be some new information revealed in the days to come leading up to the start of Leagues 4 that I do not know at the time of making this video, so please just keep that in mind. It might clear up some of the relics or who knows what, and that may change your strategy entirely. So please keep that in mind. And without further ado, let's get started. So as you can see here, I have the map open. This is going to be the first thing we're talking about. This is the map from Leagues 2 Trailblazers, actually, since I really like this map. It's really pretty, and it also gives you a nice understanding of what you can expect in each zone. Just keep in mind that down here in the desert area, TOA is not included. As well as what we might be missing, a boss or two, and as well as obviously Zaya is not included, but don't worry, we're still going to talk plenty about Zaya. So the first thing to keep in mind, the zones, you are region locked to unlock 3 zones of your choosing, but Misthalin and Karamja are both included by default. So you'll have this whole area and Karamja, Shiloh Village, Krandor, all of that is included. Now what does this mean? Ultimately, as you can see the upgrades here, even without any unlocks, you are able to get the Abyssal Bludgeon, Whip, and Abyssal Dagger because you will start with Lost City completed, which allows you to teleport to the Abyssal Sire. So really all of those things are handled right at the start. You can do that, as well as Obor and Bryophyta as well. You will also have, I forgot to mention, Fossil Island up here, unlocked, which allows you to, if you have Dragon Slayer completed, which I think depends on your unlocks. For instance, if you unlock Fremennik, you will have Dragon Slayer completed, which will allow you to acquire the Dragon Crossbow. However, this also gives you access to the Deranged Archaeologist. I hope that's the right one. Either Deranged or Crazy. I think Crazy's here and Deranged is on Fossil Island. Which will, I know he drops the Runite Limbs, but he also drops some Black D'Hide, other useful items. So you will also have Fossil Island to start with. So make sure to do your birdhouses. Guardians of the Rift is going to be in the Wizard's Tower, which is included in Misthalin, so that will be very useful. As well as the Leviathan. Since you have Guardians of the Rift, Leviathan will also be included if you have Desert Treasure 2 completed. So a lot of this gear you'll see here may be reliant on other zones, so please keep that in mind. Like a fair amount you can get just in one zone, but like let's say we take Asgarnia for instance, which gives you Cerberus, which can drop the Eternal Crystal, but you are unable to make Infinity Boots unless you also have the Mage Training Arena in the desert. So if you want to shoot for specific items, please keep in mind that some of it may require multiple zones. Okay, and before we continue, I guess I'll touch on Karamja real quick. There's not much there other than you can get the obsidian weapons and armors, as well as the capes, obviously, and you can also get Karambwans, which are going to be a big help. Okay, moving into what I would consider kind of the top tier of regions, I'm going to cover Asgarnia first, which can never go wrong picking Asgarnia. You can get the cannon if you also get Kandarin. You can get D-Boots, you can get Defenders, all of the God Wars dungeon gear, which includes obviously Bandos, Armidal, Torva, but also you can get Void gear. That may be something you don't realize. With Port Sarim, you can get Void gear, and you can also get all of the Cerberus crystals, as well as Smoldering Stone, as well as the Max Cape, should you decide to go for that, if you so desire. So yeah, a lot of really good unlocks here, especially if you like God Wars Dungeon. God Wars Dungeon and Cerberus are kind of the high-tier PVM content here. But especially if you're looking for melee-focused character, this is probably one of the better choices with the D-Boots, the Defender, the Bandos, as well as all the God Swords, of course. Oh yeah, and Giant Mole. You gotta love the Mole. Okay, so the desert, which was probably by far the least useful area in the last League's Trailblazers, is arguably the best now with the addition of Tombs of Amasket. I mean, much of everything is the same, although actually a really nice addition here is the KQ now drops the Dragon Pickaxe, which you won't see on this list. Like I'm saying, sorry, this list is out of date here. But yeah, with the addition of TOA, this gear list is about like 10 times bigger. I mean, you can get Missouri, you can get the Shadow, the Fang, Lightbearer, you can get the Ward, but also keep in mind that you can get Ancients, right? This is how you're going to get access to Ancients. And some early hints at, some areas synchronizing here. Desert and Asgarnia may go really well if you want to do God of War's Dungeon and, stay in the boss room for a long time, because you can get both Bones to Peaches and Ancients in the desert. You also have access to the Dragon Pick, like I mentioned, at KQ now, so super nice. But now also, which is not apparent here, you also have access to the Dragon Harpoon with the addition of Temperos. So that will be super handy. That was also something that was not part of the original Trailblazers, so that's just another little addition. I mean, you can also get Tome of Water if you so desire. And this also, keep in mind, this unlocks DT2 for you. But the individual DT2 bosses, like the Leviathan or Duke, you still need to have those areas to fight them, in addition to the fact that, let's say you want to go get the Ultor ring from Vardorvis, you'll still need the Fremenic ring. So if you want any of the DT2 rings, you're still going to have Fremenic unlocked to access those rings. Oh, also just a side note, I forgot to mention the Fortified Ward, of course, will require Corp in the Wildy, or if you want Fortified Missouri, that's going to obviously require Asgarnia for the plates, the Armadyl plates. Oh, and before I forget, if you are looking to grab yourself a little blowpipe action from Taranwin over here, you are going to require the Desert unlock if you want to fletch dart tips. I think the game will let you smith dart tips, but in order to actually fletch darts, you will have to have the Desert because of the quest Tourist Trap. There are some ways to access darts outside of that, but just please keep that in mind if you want to make sure you have a steady supply of darts. Okay, so now let's talk about Fremenic. Fremenic is something I chose in the original Trailblazers, but it felt a little lacking in content. However, this time around, it's got some new juicy bosses to help out with the content supply. So obviously, first off, you can get the face guard there, which will be really nice. And again, may be pretty important if you're looking to build a nice melee account, as well as the Fremenic rings, which, as I have mentioned already, if you want to get the DT2 versions, you will need these rings from the DKs. Some other notable drops include the Dragon Axe, God Books, Lunar Spells, the Assembler, actually, since you have Vorkath here, as well as the Saturated Heart, since Muspa is now in Weiss. So that's also a little, in case you're unfamiliar, Weiss is included in the Fremenic region, so that counts Muspa as well as Duke Sicellus. And something that's a little hidden that people may not realize is, the construction materials in Keldegrim, so the gold leaf, the marble blocks, that is all Fremenic. So, if you're going to need those construction materials, you will need Fremenic for that. So the general bosses, points of interest here, you got, the DKs, obviously, you've got Vorkath, you've got Muspa, you've got Duke Sicellus, Sentinels for the Basilisk Knights. I always get that confused. Basilisk Knights, I think. Drop the face guard, as well as Blast Furnace. Don't forget about Blast Furnace. That's quite nice for smithing XP as well. Okay, so that about covers Fremenic. Moving on to another one of the upper tiers, I would say, is Kandarin. Alright, I know I said this about 10 times now, but if you're looking to set up a good melee build, Kandarin is also a really good option just because of simply because of piety, but also if you're looking to maybe run Kandarin instead of Asgarnia, Fighter Torso could be a substitute for Bandos, as well as the Abyssal Tentacle. That's also nothing to sleep on. That's a good option, although probably everyone's going to be going for the Fang anyways if you're doing a melee build. So the rings here in this image are actually, this was correct for Trailblazers 2. The only way you could imbue rings was at Nightmare Zone. But now, actually, imbues can also be done at Soul Wars, which everyone has access to. The PvP arena will be disabled. They confirmed this in a blog post. So, at least in the last Trailblazers, you could imbue at Nightmare Zone with coins. So that may still, I believe that's still going to be possible. But you can always imbue through Soul Wars as well. So other than the torso as well as the cannon, which I mentioned before, you will need Asgardia and Kandarin if you would like the cannon. Other notable drops include the Zenyte jewelry, of course, going to be very big there. The D-Skimmy, as well as pretty much every sub-shadow magic weapon. Since it's got the Warp Scepter, Iban Staff, Trident, as well as the Smoke Battle Staff later with Thermi there. So Kandarin's always a good pick as well, simply because you got the torso, you got the whip, like I mentioned, the nice magic weapons, Zenyte jewelry. Oh, also, how could I forget? The Occult necklace, which is probably single-handedly the most important item if you want to go for the shadow. So if you're looking to make a magic-based account, actually, Kandarin you probably want to include with the desert, simply because the Occult, I believe, gives you like 10 max hits with the shadow. So yeah, that's going to be the place to go. Okay, moving on to another great area. We've got Mauritania. And Mauritania mainly is going to be the TOB loot. So you got the Scythe, the Sang Staff, the Rapier, Avernic, Justiciar, but also some of the more hidden items, such as a Salve, for instance. So if you're going to want to run some Vedion in the wilderness, make sure to stop by in Mauritania and pick up your Salve first, make your life a little bit easier. Additionally, don't forget about the Blood Fury, which is always a pleasure to have. Additionally, the Inquisitors, if you plan on doing Nightmare. Of course, the classic Barrow Brothers as well, if you want any Barrows armor or weapons. And for the grand finale of Mauritania, the Slayer helmet. So if you really want that boost, which I don't blame you at all, you're going to want to go to Mauritania, because that Slayer helmet is going to be locked behind those darn cave horrors. So some other points of interest in Mauritania, you've also got the Grotesque Guardians and the Slayer Tower, which can be pretty nice for bonus Slayer XP if you get the task done. But also don't forget about Sepulchre. Really nice to have Sepulchre if you're looking to do some pretty rewarding agility training. Moving on to the Elflands. I'm just going to leave it at that instead of the T word that everyone tries to pronounce. Nothing too out of the ordinary here. You're used to these by now. Zulrah, you got Crystal Armor, Crystal Bow, you've got Bofa. However, keep in mind some of the rewards you may get from Zulrah you will have to pair with some other items. So for instance, the Magic Fang is going to be useless unless you also have Kandarin and get yourself a Trident. And like I mentioned before, in the desert, if you get a Blowpipe, you're going to have to sustain yourself purely on darts you catch, unless you also pick desert so that you can fletch your own darts. Other than that, not too much to mention here. You also have Zalcano, and you can also get rune boots here as well, since they're Necreals. As I forgot to mention, you can get rune boots in Mauritania as well. And second to last, but not least, we have the Wilderness. The Wilderness is, fortunately, quite a bit better than last time, I'd say, due to the nice boss drop tables they have now. You've got Vedion, you've got Venenatus, Callisto, Scorpia, KBD, Crazy Archaeologist, Chaos Fanatic. There's so many bosses, I'm forgetting the names. Chaos Elemental. As well as Corp Beast, can't forget about Corp. So if you're looking for, if you love any of these bosses, which a lot of them are a lot of fun, and some of them have some really good drop tables, the Wilderness may be for you. But also, can't forget about some of the nice quality of life drops here, such as Rune Crossbow from the Crazy Archaeologist, if you're looking to rush that. But as well as the Voidwaker, or the Majorina 2 capes, or the Thamaron Scepter, Chainmace, Crossbow. Fortunately, thanks to the God Wars dungeon, wilderness area, whatever that place is called, You can also actually get D boots here, so that might be a bit of a sleeper pick if you're looking to get D boots, but you don't want to take Asgarnia. Can't forget about the shields in the wilderness either if you're really looking to flex on some plebeians. The Arcane, Spectral, and Elysian will all be available to you at Corp if you choose the wilderness. Some other notable items I'd say would be Ring of the Gods from Vedion. The other rings aren't really that notable. Mage Arena 2 capes, if I have not mentioned those already, as well as the Dragon Pickaxe, actually. This is probably the easiest way outside of KQ, so can't forget about that. You can get the Dragon Pickaxe from Fossil Island, from Volcanic Mine as well. I've just never done it, because I'm not sure how long it takes, or I think it costs like 2.5 mil or something to fix it, so if you're looking for an easier way to acquire it, this is the way. And before you write it off entirely, personally I will not be choosing it, but there actually will be no penalty for dying in the wilderness. Surprisingly, they said this in the blog post that due to how insane the combat relics are going to be, that people would just be getting dropped way too quickly, and it would make people too aggressive in the wilderness, so much so that I guess they think not much PVM would be getting done. So there actually is no benefit to killing someone in the wilderness. So if you die with your max gear out in the wilderness, you just, it's an inconvenience, you respawn, but you won't lose any of your items. So keep that in mind when deciding. Alright, and finally, in Kourend, you can just imagine that I'm looking at a map of Kourend right now. So in Kourend, it's mainly going to be the Cox loot as far as loot that you can achieve, but there's also some other stuff. So first, touching on the Cox loot, you've got Ancestral, of course, Claws, Twisted Bow, Elder Maul, Dins, Dragon Hunter Crossbow, Rigor, Augury, and the Buckler. At least those were the... I feel like I'm missing something there. Did I get everything? I don't know. I feel like I covered everything important at least. So yeah, once again, if you're looking to put together a strong magic build and you're going to want to max out that magic damage bonus, you're probably going to want to come to Kourend. Additionally, you can get the Dragon Warhammer here, as well as the Tome of Fire at Wintertod. This also actually gives you the only other way that I know of to get a Dragon Axe in the game, which is Wintertod. So if you're not going Fremenic and you still want a Dragon Axe, this is the place to go, although, I don't know, I've heard some things about the rarity there. Good luck. Other points of interest, the Archaea Spellbook, actually, which would be pretty handy for Thralls or prayer training, as well as the Brimstone Ring. I mean, Mount Kurum in general may be a pretty big point of interest for you, just for the Slayer Master and the tasks. You can also acquire the Cudgel here at Seracnus, Rune Boots at Necreals, and the Dragon Harpoon at Worms. There's also the entirety of the Kourend Catacombs and all the drop tables on all those monsters down there, but I think I mainly got most of the important things out of the way. And per usual, that you will need some different areas if you would like specific items that you think may be specific to this area, such as the Dragon Hunter Lance, which you will need the Zamorakian Hasta for, or Zamorakian Spear, one or the other. And for the Ferocious Gloves, you will need access to the Lithgrin Vault to actually create them from the leather, the Hydra leather. So that will require Kandarin, I believe, which is, or excuse me, not Kandarin, Fremenic, to have Dragon Slayer 2 completed. So keep that in mind. Also noticeable, Arclight will require the Desert, I believe, because you need Darklight beforehand, and the Kodai Wand, you will also need the Desert for Mage Training Arena, so that you can get a Master Wand to use the Kodai Insignia on. So boss-wise, it's not too crazy. Obviously, you've got Chambers of Zarek here, but you also have Seracnus, you've got Skotizo, and you also have Vardorvis. Wintertod too, I guess, if you want to count that. But yeah, that's pretty much Zaya. And before I jump into something else, I believe I forgot to mention that the Whisperer is also home in Asgarnia, so that's another DT2 boss that you would have access to. So I hope this was helpful to someone out there, or if it was just me rambling, that's okay. I like hearing myself talk. So that's it for me. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like, subscribe if you so feel, share it with your friends, or you could do none of the above. Whatever you prefer, and I will see you guys in leagues in 6 days. Farewell, guys.